Hello everyone, this is Mohammed Shabir from Action Code GCC. Today I'm answering a question from Jinas of Almas Water Company in Qatar. So he leans personally towards focusing on growth, reach and turnover first rather than pushing for profitability. Too early, when you look at big global companies, many of them spend aggressively on marketing, customer acquisition and scale, accepted losses along the way and only later convert that scale into strong profits. How do you judge this when this mindset makes sense and when it becomes dangerous? What signals tell a founder that it's time to stop prioritizing turnover and start focusing seriously on profitability? So, there's a part of your answer is in your question. Big global companies. How big are you? Are you a global company? And if you're going to be leveraging a global strategy for a local market, it might not work because at a global stage, what happens is economies of scale happen by leveraging a lot of ease of distribution. Ease of distribution. So, if you really look at it right now, the kind of unicorns that you would be mentioning are the tech companies or companies that are focusing on solving lifestyle problems using technology, which can be distributed by easy channels, which are already owned by the consumers that they are targeting, like mobiles, handhelds, or other platforms, right? So what happens in such cases is they're ready to burn cash to ensure that they are getting maximum downloads and logins. I mean, there is repeat logins. That's where their capitalization happens, right? So what happens is there's a lot of equity funding companies, venture capitalist companies that fund companies at different series. And in the initial stages, people might be putting in a smaller amount because the risk appetite of these VCs might be less and they are ready to lose it. And again, you have to understand how VC companies work. VC companies do not make money on all their investments. They are ready to lose on at least 90% of the investments. I've heard so many podcasts, read so many articles where VC companies don't make money on their all their investments. They lose money on 90% of their investments, but the 10% that they make money on brings in huge profits, which would make up for the ones they lose plus more, which is where the profits come from. And what happens is, based on their risk appetite, they enter a business at a certain stage and they exit, and then the exit is basically bought in by the funds brought in by another VC company at that stage who might have a larger risk appetite and is ready to risk more money and pay the profitability that the VC would have looked at that stage. So there's a series of VC funding that happens, and then it gets to Series A, and then it goes to scaling. And there are large unicorns, I will not deny it, like Uber, Airbnb, and all, which burned cash for a lot of years before they got it. But as a MSME, that might not your investors might not have the deep pockets that you're looking for. You might not have access to funds that you're looking for. So if you're going to approach that your marketing in that way, what happens is you might burn out your business and need to close down your business faster than expected. So business model is very, very different, and you really need to understand what is the customer acquisition strategy that you're utilizing, what is your distribution channels that you're utilizing, and how are you really bringing in justification to burning those cash at which stage, and what are the metrics that you're tracking to ensure that you are bringing in what you promised. This requires a lot of work. It requires a different kind of a lifestyle also, because when you're working at that level, you might be putting in much more hours than what you can actually devote. And when you have commitments such as family and other things, you might not be able to create a harmony between all the commitments that you have. You really need to measure what you're looking at. So it becomes dangerous all based on what is your risk appetite and what you're ready to leverage and what you're ready to sacrifice. What signals a founder it's time to stop prioritizing turnover? It's essentially when the fact that he realizes that there is only so much more time that he has access to funds, and he needs to bring in a break-even point and then a profitability point to ensure that he is able to now fund his growth through the company's activities itself. Not every stakeholder will put in the money at all stages of loss. People have different risk appetites. The shareholders will have different risk appetites, and if you're not structuring your company in that way, it becomes a big problem. Again, there is a lot of legalities involved in such situations which you have to be sure of, and the scale of growth might require you to have a product that has got such a huge gross profit margin, such a huge gross profit that you can actually take care of absorb a lot of these costs, with the fact that your cost of cost of you know operations is very low and optimized. So you will see the operations of such companies are very lean, whereas the customer acquisition strategy is where they are bringing in so much money. We saw it recently in how Kita leveraged, their growth into this market. How a lot of other distribution companies, one of the most frequent inquiries that I get from people are, how do we start our own food distribution platform, because these platforms are taking a lot of percentage from our profits and we would like to leverage it. And then when I explain to them how the customer acquisition strategies on those platforms are being funded by millions of dollars of freebies, they understand that this is not doable. So what they do is they optimize their operations, they optimize their marketing, and they basically scale in terms of the lead generation that they're creating through both the platforms. I mean, through the distribution platforms as well as their other social media marketing, which will drive more growth towards them. And they realize that this is a inevitable cost of growth that they will have to absorb as a F&B outlet. But who played the smart game? It's the aggregators like Talabat and Kita and Swiggy and all the different markets that they operate. This might not be a perfect answer, but I think you would have got the sense of perspective that I'm trying to share over here. Uh, it's all based on your risk appetite and what you're ready to give up, or what you're ready to take on as a challenge. Okay, all the best to you, and I look forward to your questions going ahead.